I started out at a really young age. I was 6 or 7 when I started to play classical piano. When I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, it wasn't cool to play piano anymore, so bands like Metallica, Nirvana got really big. So I wanted to play guitar, and that's when I switched to being a frontman of bands. And working from that, I was a singer, I was a guitar player, later on a drummer and a bass player. And I went to work in the music industry because no one wanted to book us, no one wanted to manage us. So I had to do it myself. That's my start. Well, it's still an interesting industry because it's constantly changing, constantly evolving. Whatever I'm saying right now could be rather obsolete in a week from now. So it's a really interesting industry where you have to stay up to date. I mean, if you don't do that, you have no reason whatsoever to work in the music industry. You have to be, on top of things at all times. But it's a fascinating industry. It still is. Okay, I would say multi-tracking is really important because when that was invented, it opened up, a lot of possibilities for artists. I would say autotune. Hate it or love it, autotune. They invented it to correct minor things, when a vocalist couldn't just, lay the vocal down correctly. And now they're just overdoing it, of course, with Kanye West at the forefront, and I think T-Pain and artists like that. And a lot of people like it, but autotune is really important. I would say smartphones. Smartphones is really important, and it's a really important factor as in terms of technological aspect to the music industry. Apple is really important. If you don't like Apple at all, just think about the iPad, the iPhone, the iPod. Really important. Steve Jobs passed away quite some time ago already, and we knew up front that we have a couple of years left working with his legacy, but I have not seen anything new yet. We already had the watch, we already had the pod, the pad, the MacBook Air. So what is the next thing? I believe it will be augmented reality, but who am I? I'm not a technical guy, but I think that's a big part in today's technology, and I think it will be adopted in the music industry as well. The biggest mistake is, of course, going to work in an industry you don't really love, but you do it for the money, or you think you can make a lot of money. That's the biggest mistake, of course, but let's pretend, there's a specific act and they like playing music, they like doing gigs. Well, if they're not, business savvy, if they don't know enough about the music industry, they don't know about the contracts, they should lawyer up or have someone check their contracts. That's the biggest mistake. Because if there's a mistake in the start of the career of a musician or a band, it could have, dire consequences later on the road. So that's a big mistake that a lot of artists are still making these days. It all depends on the fact whether you need money to promote your product. A label is and always has been a bank. That's it. You don't go to a label these days because you think, well, it will be better for my image or whatnot, Usually these days it will be cooler to do it yourself. However, sometimes you need marketing budget, you need promotion, whatever, you need merchandise, you need someone to foot that bill. Then you need a bank. and if there's not a bank involved, you need a label. It doesn't really matter whether it's a major or an indie, but it does matter if you are hailing from a scene where it's not cool to sign to a major label. Could be in the metal scene, could be in the techno scene. You could lose a lot of, fans because you're signing to a major label. So it really depends on the situation where you are right now. And in terms of do-it-yourself, that's no problem at all. You can work through an aggregator. You can get your tracks on Spotify. You can get your tracks on YouTube, on Shazam. Missing. Well, I would love to see that there will be like bigger labels. Indie labels are already doing this, who invest in artists that are different, authenticity. Sometimes the business lacks authenticity. Sometimes you have artists that are not like the typical guy or girl who are like in boy bands or girl bands. Sometimes you have Susan Boyle, sometimes you have Ed Sheeran. So I think it's a very positive thing that these days record labels are willing to set looks aside and images and clothing, whatever, to put authenticity back on stage again. That's what I really like. And what it is missing, no, I don't think it's missing anything right now, but I'm just waiting for the next big thing again. Don't start anything, whether it's in the music industry or any other business, for the money, because the money will follow. If you're good at what you do, the money will follow. But it's my personal belief that if you do what you love, you don't have to work a single day in your life. And that's to me the best feeling there is. That's what I'm doing. I'm only doing the things that I love, and every day is like a little party. Do what you love and love what you do.